We're good. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Shefali sitting here with my dear friend Megan Leahy, the parenting expert at the Washington Post. Yes, I'm in Washington on the first stop of my book tour, and Megan is joining me here at. Tell us about this place we're at, Megan.
Politics and Prose is the bookstore in Washington, D.C. It has withstood the onslaught of the big online chains that have sold books, and it remains a neighborhood and city landmark for the best authors and books to be represented. It is the place to be.
I'm so excited because we're going to do this chat here. We're going to do a book reading, a book signing, questions and answers. So you see, this is Megan's first time. So do you see people signing in and they're saying hello?
Oh, hi guys.
So we're going to go in and have some deep conversations because Megan is the parenting expert here in Washington. And we're going to talk about what she sees in her practice, what are the typical questions you get, and tell us about your impressions of my book, The Awakened Family, and let's dive deep into what parents are dealing with and how we can help them. So first tell me, how's the book feeling for you? Is it different from The Conscious Parent?
Yes.
What's different? What feels different?
I mean, so your story, your message has always been a very deep dive for parents to really go deep. And this book brings that message again, but with some practicality behind it that I think will speak to all the parents that need a little bit more of what does this look like in my daily life.
Yep.
And how can I live this out?
Yep.
So it still has the theory that everybody loves, but it has a little more what to do.
Yeah,
which
that's
is,
good.
I think,
That's good.
people will love and appreciate.
So my most common question, Megan, especially because I teach mindfulness, which is so hard to understand, is what to do. What to do, what to do. Well, Dr. Shefali, what do I do when? What do I do? But you told me what I could do at 9:30, but you didn't tell me what I should do at 10 o'clock, right?
Yes.
So the panic that parents feel is legitimate because we don't understand that the mindfulness techniques, the ability to take a pause, the ability to not react is a technique. That is the technique. That is the what to do. The what to do is all there. We're just unable to appreciate it because we're so caught up in the conditioning. So you were saying that you were struck by one of the myths I talk about. Tell them what you were struck by.
Well, one of the primary things I hear in both the Washington Post writers and my own private coaching practice and the parents I meet is, and something Dr. Shefali hits on in your book is, if I am not in control, i.e. controlling my child, this is permissive parenting. My child's going to be a wreck. Things will fall apart. There's no discipline. So I like how you walk through what that actually means.
Yeah.
And so tell us more how you see that in the parents you talk to.
Yeah, and I want you to share your experiences too. So this is a common dilemma that parents get stuck on. So the dilemma is this. Dr. Shefali, you said that we should follow the child's lead and that we should let them be free spirits and we should not crush their spirit, right? That's my message.
Yes.
And then when they come to me and they say, my kid doesn't get off the screen, or my kid is putting herself at risk, or my son is drinking too much, and then I stand up and I say, so lay a boundary, then everybody's like, lay a boundary? You just said, let them be free. So that's the paradox that people get confused about, right? Mm-hmm. When do you lay the boundary in a compassionate, consistent, life-enhancing way? And when do you lay a boundary that's purely because of your ego? And this book outlines that. It delineates when we have to lay a boundary that's truly for their service, their spiritual service, and when do you lay a boundary when it's coming from your ego. And this is the difference, and I talk about it in my book, The Awakened Family. You want to hold it up for them, Megan?
You bet, you bet.
For the two people that haven't bought it on this chat. There you go. So in this book, at the end of the book, I really delineate between knowing when you're laying a boundary out of your pure maniacal ego, and because you want to look good or you want to feel in control, and when to lay a boundary because it's in the best service of your child. But Megan, what do you tell people about this not being permissive?
Yeah. Well, in terms of the being in control, I tell parents to get their Gandhi on, right? Think about great leaders of our culture or great leaders that you've had in your life, leaders of your family, leaders of groups. They were not controlling. They were not autocratic. They were not demonstratively shaming. And yet there was a great strength in them that you wanted to follow, right? And they had to demonstrate that. Right. So I often have them imagine either somebody in our culture or somebody that was in their family that demonstrated strength without the control, which it, like you said, comes from the ego. And in my coaching practice, I use comes from fear.
So when you just said that envision a great leader, right? What you're really saying is get out of the confines of yourself as me, the parent of this child, and almost divinely project the qualities of a great leader. What are the qualities of a great leader? They have their eyes on a long-term vision.
Yes.
They don't really care about how each person executes their vision. They just care about the movement toward the whole, the big picture. And that's what I think parents are unable to do. We can't go for big picture. We're going for, did you do your chores today? Did you pick up your socks today? And we get caught up in the minutiae without realizing that, okay, there's a long arc here that we need to move them toward. And there's a lot of planting of seeds that happen. And if this task doesn't get done at this moment, it doesn't mean there's an entire breakdown. The child is still developing, and we have to trust that.
Absolutely. And it's, I've noticed too that along the points of the chores and these things is that there is they are too wedded to routine and consistency. But if they are consistently controlling and angry, that is not parenting.
And if
a good leader is flexible.
A good leader is not going to nitpick and criticize and constantly tell you, you didn't do this. The good leader says, this is my supporter's nature. This is the nature of my supporter. I know that Megan likes to wear black. I just know. I tell her to dress up in colorful clothes, but no, she wears black. Now, if every day I keep nitpicking on you wearing black, you're going to stop coming toward me because I'm not letting you be who you are.
That's right.
Correct? So great leaders, they take the best qualities from their supporters and they nurture the best qualities of their supporters and understand that the limitations, of course, are muscles to be built, but you can't exaggerate the limitation because then you're going to stop coming to me because I'm not letting you be who you are.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, and I study with, and we were talking about before, Dr. Neufeld, Gordon Neufeld, and he says the child is naturally not going to want to cooperate when he or she doesn't feel in connection. When the connection and the support and the acceptance isn't there,
right,
it is a guarantee that you will get more of what you don't want.
Right.
Because that's all humans.
So this is the cycle we're in, right? Pick up your clothes, pick up your clothes, pick up your clothes. So we're only narrowing on what is not there. And then the child feels like they're not being seen for their whole, and then they begin to shut down from us. And then we ask them, why aren't you ever nice to us? Why don't you ever connect to us? Because all we give them is a little piece of what we don't like. So we're always mirroring the negative rather than mirroring the positive. So why would they want to be with us?
And we make our love and acceptance of them conditional.
Yes.
If you are good,
yes,
I praise and love you.
Yes.
And if you are not good,
yes,
this narrow view, and it's an ever-changing target of
right,
what isn't good.
Right.
I will not have you in my presence.
Yes.
And that is the crux of the problem of the relationship between parent and child,
yes,
is conditional love.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like if you had a conditional friend who kept harping on the things you did wrong the last time you guys met, you're going to not want to be with her. I mean, it's so simple in a way.
Oh, I mean, when you hear it, you wouldn't even treat strangers this way.
No, never.
Right.
Never.
No, right.
But so what is that about us that allows us to show our lowest, most unconscious selves at home? What is it? Is it the power I talk about in my book, that we have unbridled, unquestioned power? and we just go all out with control because we want so badly to have control over something in our lives, and finally we have control over our children, because it's really kind of sick the way we act with our kids sometimes.
And I think, too, you make the point in the book, which I think is valuable for every parent I mean, yes, you're going to have guilt. You can't kind of escape it. And, you know, culture hates guilt, but guilt's important. Guilt is your conscience saying, yo, things aren't going right.
But don't get stuck in guilt, because then it's just self-pity.
Well, then you're
it's
just a martyr for your life.
Then
Right.
you're wallowing in self-pity and you're not in the present moment. So guilt is just the alert.
It's a useful tool.
It's just a red flag to say,
Right.
I'm pushing it here. I'm really, pushing my
line,
control, my dominance, because my poor kid can't say no to me right now.
Right. But you do make the point in the book, which I think is important, is that the culture, how we grew up, has lent us to our abuse of power and our abuse of power as love.
Yes.
As demonstrated love.
Yes.
And so that we are unconsciously acting out what was done to us by not just our parents, but teachers and other people in charge of us.
Yes.
And so to wake up to this is, you say a couple of times, a type of grief, to realize how you were treated, what you didn't get that you needed from the people who were supposed to love and support you.
Yes.
And then it's another grief to realize you're revisiting it upon your children.
Yes. I'm trying to get us both in the frame here.
Just focus on you.
Me.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about the grief of the recognition of how scarce we are from within. And I give examples to parents that when you begin to hear your thoughts and your thoughts towards your children, if you pay attention to your thoughts and the tape that runs through your mind about your child, things like, look at him, so lazy. Why can't he be more like Mike, the neighbor's kid? Why can't he do X, Y, Z? Look at her, she's putting on weight. Why isn't she sweet and docile? Or whatever stereotypical tape runs through your mind. The tragedy here now in consciousness is that tape is how you are with yourself. And of course, that's a big leap of consciousness, leap of awareness to realize, I'm not having this judgment towards my child because my child warrants that judgment. I'm having this judgment towards my child because that's how sick and critical and negative and bitter my relationship with myself is. Now that, when I see that in myself, that, wow, I'm judging my daughter, but where did this judgment come from? I must be living in that judgment toward myself. That to me is scary, is humbling, is a grief process. So when I encourage parents to look in that mirror, every judgment you have towards your child is the way you relate to yourself. But tell the audience what you were talking about, the myth that our children need to be happy, and what you find and why you feel like this is such a prevalent myth. Why do you feel like that's such a prevalent myth?
I'm so glad when I read that myth, I was like, because if you go to your local bookstore online, everything is books about, for yourselves to become happier, right? And for your family to be happier, and for your child to be happier. And what Dr. Shefali discusses, which is so important, is that happiness is a state. It is not a way you can be 24/7. You can live awakened. You can live, I think, more present, content.
But we are qualifying how to be. We're conditionalizing something which should be richly nuanced and saying, life, don't be nuanced. I only want a hundredth of your experience for me, because that's the only one where I don't have to grow, where I don't have to sweat, where I don't have to look in the mirror. We're slicing up life's nuance into just this little piece, right?
And again, with the conditional love, we are either directly or indirectly communicating to our children, I'm okay with you when you seem happy to me. So all these other these emotional states we have, for good reason, sadness, fear, anger, all these things that we need to have to make us a complete mature human. We are telling our kids, no, your anger makes me uncomfortable. No, your sadness doesn't seem to make sense. Makes me uncomfortable.
And why are you even being disagreeable? Like, I used to tell my daughter this, when she was 3 and 4. I'm like, how can you be crying on a beautiful spring day? And now when I look back on what I was trying to tell her, it's like, don't be you. You're not allowed to be tired, pissy, grumpy, sulky, a kid, because I want you to make me feel good that I brought you into this life, and I want you to appreciate this gorgeous day we're having right now. I mean, it's so insane. But this translates into, I just threw you $1,000 little party, or $10,000 bat mitzvah or sweet 16, and now you're being grumpy, or you had a fight with your friend, and how dare you spill something on your dress, the expensive dress, or you lose the expensive watch. It's all this, right? Life is not allowed to be life. It should only be 1/100th of life. Anything that makes us uncomfortable cannot be allowed into the room.
And I think something that you allude to that you also go more into in your book is also the externals that come into play, and that we give and give and give to our children with this outcome-based idea. And then we cannot believe that they are not grateful, that they are not just walking around worshiping us, that they are not living out this like, oh, thank you so much.
Correct.
And then we are disappointed in that.
Well, so it starts when they're 2 years old. So
it starts as soon as they're born.
Right, but so maybe for the first 2 years we'll back off a little bit, because we're waiting for the gratitude to come, and the medal of honor and the big letters, we love you, Mom. But so we buy them the expensive, what's the first thing? The expensive ballet outfit, right? The ballerina outfit. Then
it starts with the stroller, too.
Right, the expensive stroller.
Right.
Then the expensive violin. Then the skates. Then the memberships. Then the tuition. Then we buy friendships, and we join alumni and clubs, and so we do all this for the hope of only 1 or 2 outcomes, right? What are the 2 outcomes?
Success and happiness for the child,
Success.
which is success and happiness for us.
Only for us, because the kid didn't sign up for this. So success and happiness is the utopic outcome. We're not doing any of this. Would you buy the expensive violin if you were told that the kid was probably going to give it up in 2 years, because life is a process of learning and exploration, and no one should be indebted to creating an identity as a violinist at the age of 3? Would you then buy the violin? No. You're only buying the expensive violin, and this is a metaphor only. We're only buying that because we want the outcome of some grand concert at the end of the day, right? So then when our kid doesn't comply, what disappointment.
We've wasted.
Right?
We've wasted our money, time, and effort.
Right.
Anything that was learned is dismissed and trashed.
And then what about the moral judgments we make? You are irresponsible.
You couldn't see it through.
What about consistency? What about stamina? What about...
Got to stick with something in order to grow.
Right. So now the kid is like, okay, I didn't know this cost me $400. I didn't know I was signing up for life. I'm like 4 years old, Mom. Sorry I broke the violin. Sorry, I hate playing the violin. Can we now move course? So this is just an example of the big things, right? And then we take them on the expensive trip, and then they're sulking, or they want to be on their phone. And so this is the grand setup really for failure, because our narrow definition of the outcome is only success and happiness.
Right. And it only really reflects us. I mean, we are really, it's just a demonstration of our success as a parent, because our children are commodities.
Yes, the commodification of childhood.
Right. And our culture has done it, and it is a brave act to read this book and choose another way. So everybody says to me, oh, this is all well and good. But how do I opt out of the 400 travel soccer teams?
Yes.
How do I stop?
Yes. How do I opt out?
I'm waiting for everybody else to stop before I stop.
Yes, to give me permission to be brave. Well, let's just say hello to everyone. This is Megan Leahy, the wonderful parenting expert at the Washington Post. And where are we, Megan?
We are at Politics and Prose, the best bookstore in the nation, and definitely in Washington, D.C.
So here I am, first stop on my book tour of The Awakened Family, Revolution in Parenting. Go get it at theawakenedfamily.com. La 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 la. And we're going to do a book signing, a talk, and Megan is joining me, and we're discussing what she sees in her practice. Megan, stop.
Well, they said, hold up the book.
Oh, okay. I was like, this is such a shameless sales pitch. Okay, let's be really shameless. Here we go.
Where
are we? Okay. And we're talking about what we see in our parenting practices with our clients. What are the most common obstructions? So Megan was saying that, okay, this is all very well and good, but now what? Now I've signed up for the $400,000, 10-year commitment baseball team. I've sacrificed how many weekends? Only like all my life.
Oh, the entire family is hijacked by 5-year-olds' activities.
Yes.
Obscene.
Yes. So now how do I give up? And what do you mean opt out? And what do you mean I can just chill in my pajamas all weekend? And then what? What is childhood about? Where are we moving? Where are we heading toward? The present moment? How can you head toward the present moment? We have to head toward, Ivy League and be busy, and children need to be productive. And what did we do today? Did we at least eat well? Did we eat some kale? Right? So this is the standard of our childhood. Childhood has become a commodification, has become a race to adulthood. And God forbid we have a simple, loving, relaxed, non-scheduled, non-stressed out time. My daughter said to me this summer, she said, I'm not joining anything. I want to just enjoy my summer. And I had a few alarm bells go off, my ego that wanted her busy and scheduled so I could relax. I could have some time off.
Amen. I
right?
hear you. Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, what will she do? How can you spend the whole summer just being? I mean, that's unheard of. And I decided, like you said, to opt out, to be brave. Very brave, and I'm getting a lot of pressure by other parents. What do you mean? Like, what is she going to do? Like, one activity, like anything, half a day. How about 3 times a week? And I go, no, we're taking the plunge and totally going to have an unscheduled, let's see what happens. Oh my goodness, connect with our children 24/7, hang around the house. Time in the summer. I'm gonna report on this. I'm gonna write some articles.
And it is so funny. So I have, how old is your daughter?
13.
Okay, so I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old. So we can, yes. And she said, I'm not doing anything this summer. She got certified as a babysitter. She's like, I want to work. Okay. But of course, my fear is that all she will do is sit on her phone.
Yes.
So I instantly began to parent from there and signed her up for every camp I could find.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And to which she threw a much,
legitimized fit.
Yes. So she and I sat down, and I said, I have this fear. And she admitted, she goes, it's legitimate because I do love my phone.
Yes.
So I said, all right, this is what I've done. How do you feel about these things?
Yes.
And she actually said, that horseback riding camp looks great. I want to do that.
Yes.
And I want to do this other thing, this musical theater. I'm not doing anything else.
Right.
And I had to bite on a stick. I was like, okay. And I said, we're going to have to revisit the tech rules. She said, okay, deal. So, I did want to get my city kid onto a farm scooping some poop. So she and I made a deal, but I had to let everything else go.
Yeah, so then when my daughter said that she's not going to do anything, immediately I was like, okay, she won't do anything, but I'll just take her to the local hospital down the street, and we'll just do
rock
some
babies.
Rock babies. We'll just do some charity work. I'll just make her bake 1,000 cakes every week. I won't let her, so what? No schedule, but I'll just schedule her out. So what is this fear we have? Well, the first fear we have is that they will, eviscerate in front of a screen. And then what does that mean? If they want to be on a screen, that means we have to work harder to connect, to be with them, to do things in nature. Who has time for that? Then the second thing is that just connect without being productive. No, we have to show something for it. So that's the second fear. What are we going to show? What are we going to say we did, right? The doing. What do you mean we just read books and walked and swam and, what was the thing you did? What did you sign up for?
What did you earn?
What did you earn? I can't tell you the questions I get asked by parents. I'm sure you get that too, Megan. What is your kid into? What is your kid going to become?
What has your kid specialized in, and they're 7?
Yes. And do they know what they're going to be when they grow up? And my answer to all of it is like, nothing. I don't know. Was I supposed to think about that already? Were we supposed to have a plan? So what is this anxiety we have? Let's leave the screens alone for a moment, because that's legitimate, I think.
Yes.
But that means we don't know how to create boundaries.
Well, and what we do is we swing from utter control. So for you, right, you made it about, we can volunteer.
Yeah.
All right. And I made it about, I'm going to camp this kid up
Right.
until the cows come home.
Right.
And then we take it right into, they'll be losers.
Yes.
There's nothing, right? So it's always kind of finding the middle.
Yes.
Whereas, how do we lead with strength toward our child's best interest, our family's best interest, what you know is real,
Right.
which requires waking up.
Right.
And then keeping in mind that it's not about us.
Right.
And that we have to find a way to bring ease to it in without letting fear dominate what we want to do.
Correct. So if we get out of fear about the screen time, if we move away from fear around screens, then we realize, we just have to lay a boundary. I just have to be consistent, strong,
Which is
clear.
hard.
Well, but if you take away the emotion around it and you take away the story around it and you develop the muscle to be consistent and to tell your kid and to communicate that no is after an hour, it's a no on the weekend or in the summer, and stick to it, your child will
Adapt.
listen. They will, but you have to stick with it. And then you have to connect with them. And then you have to find a way to do fun things together. And then you have to give your child a chance to discover their rhythm and be okay with it. Be okay if they sat under a tree and swam a little and didn't have any certificate to show for it. They didn't complete a course. That's okay. Because summer can be the time for this relaxed, unstructured curiosity.
And it requires, again, like we said earlier, this pushback, because even the schools will give extensive lists on great literature, which I used to be an English teacher.
Yeah.
I love great
Yeah.
literature.
Yeah.
So when I see my kids only picking up graphic novels,
Yes.
immediately, that's
Yes.
not real. That's
Yes.
not real books.
Yes.
So all the time, no, that's valid for them.
Yes.
No, that's valid for them.
Yes.
No, that's reading.
Yes.
No, they love it.
Yes.
They love it. They love it. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be Jane Eyre, which
Yes.
meanwhile, like, it's a lot of women weeping on coasts.
Yes, yes,
You know,
and
like-
and being dependent on the love of their lives. So,
Right.
so it's how do we move away from judgment, allowing our children's spirit to unfold, and allowing yourself to have the permission to opt out once in a while. Right? I think that's the crux here. As Elle says, look what she says, moving from doing to being has been the greatest gift for both me and my child. So spending time in their interests has created for greater connection.
Yeah.
So this is it. So let's answer the call, answer the invitation to step more into your child's authentic being. Don't make them who you want them to be. Enter their present moment and connect with them, and then move forward. And when you have that foundation, your child will hold on to this authenticity and live a far more meaningful life than if they just complied with your idea of a productive life. So we're going to sign out now. It was Dr. Shefali and Megan coming to you from Politics and Prose. First stop on my book tour. So happy you're joining me.
It is my honor. Thank you.
Find Megan at ML Parent Coach. She writes for the Washington Post. Thank you all for joining. Share away.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. So press finish. Perfect.